I wanted to talk about terrorism and some of the characters that keep coming up that they're very tied to this business. There was this artist, Cosby, and people were asking him why in your shows you don't discuss racism and all the racial tensions that's going on. I guess he was making his comedies in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and then he said, "Why, why do I need to do that? I mean, I'm black, I'm a comedian, and I'm successful, but do I owe the public or the society a debt that I have to constantly, expose all this crap, all this stuff that's really disgusting, shouldn't be going on. Why am I the person who has to come in and fix that?" But other artists and other like philosophers or somebody like me, people kind of look at me and say, "I have these problems. I don't know how to get rid of them, how to resolve them. Do you have any ideas?" Like, it's like endlessly you're confronted with this issue. It's like in the back of your mind, you cannot get rid of. Well, I was watching the eulogy, or I guess a lot of people came out in Isfahan, in Iran, and there were like suicide attack on the Iranian border guards and killed 27 people, and 27 guards, border guards, and they were mostly from Isfahan, I guess. And when I was looking at this, and the people were extremely angry, and it kind of proceeded peacefully, but you could sense the anger. But then the IRGC general came out, and he was talking about that there will be retaliation. But then later on, another general came out, Soleimani, and I guess the Iranian government has concern because a lot of these things are kind of orchestrated by the Saudi family and the Israelis and the United States intelligence services, and Soleimani said, "Hey, I don't want to start World War III, or we have problem." I guess they had tried to stop these attacks like 6 times before, and they didn't. I guess it was the 6th or the 7th time that somebody succeeded, and then there were a lot of repercussions. I guess the Iranian government warned Pakistan, and concurrently the Indian government, Modi, warned the Pakistani, and the Pakistani politicians, the corrupt politicians, they have elements in the military that harbor these guys, the Saudi clan or buddies. They come in with a suitcase full of dollars, and then buy off some of the generals. Some are known, some are not, and then they make a little secret deal. I guess there was a major hit before, and they destroyed Kuwait, which is the people in there. They are like ethnic Turks. They are. I think that the Saudi clan, they hate ethnic Turks because the ethnic Turks like Azeri, Hazaris, they were they had political power in the past, in the Safavid or in the Ottoman Empire, and they're distributed everywhere. Just like Americans have bases everywhere, there are Americans in foreign countries. Well, previous dynasties, they had all these people, they were stationed different places, and a lot of them had integrated with the local population. So what the Saudi clan is doing is by going around and killing Sufis and Hazaris and Azaris, and they're telling the Islamic world, hey, we are in charge, and we are, if you we don't like you, you don't have political influence, you don't have a say so, we are the boss. So I guess they come around with their big fat paychecks or suitcases full of money, and they buy off certain politicians, and then the dilemma of Iran or India have is that if they hit these people militarily, which is very possible and very feasible, then it's like going to war with the Muslim country, with Pakistan, which is the last thing that the Iranians want to do, is to go to war with Pakistan. And I think that would be the same with India, and every time they complain to these stupid politicians they have, they are, I don't know if you have dealt with Indian or Pakistani culture, they're very nice, they have the gift of gab, and they'll say all these nice things, and everything looks rosy after the meeting. But then again, after a little while, more terrorists come in and do more killing. And I guess the Americans were using drones to target certain parts of Pakistan because they knew these guys are coming from there, this region. But I think it was called Waziristan. But then again, the underlying financiers, they're always like in Emirat or UAE or Saudi, and they go and kind of quiet things down. Sometimes the Saudi clan, they go and arrest somebody, and you don't know why this person got arrested, and they execute him and say, oh look, we got the financier, we are in charge of our own country and our judiciary and our intelligence services, they work, and we guarantee that in the future there won't be any more of these heinous attacks. And I guess the last prince, MBS, I think he's dead, but maybe he's alive, I don't know. He drove his stupid Mercedes by Hajj, and he created a commotion. I don't know if it was deliberate or not. It usually is deliberate, because all these Iranians periodically get killed or injured, or the border guards get blown apart. Like there was a stampede, and like 700 Zair, like religious pilgrim, who were mostly Shia, they got killed. I guess they don't like the Shia very much, because our government is not monarchy, is not passed over by from hand to hand from family, and they are also Muslim. They look at Iran and they see Iran is so successful economically and militarily, and does not answer to Americans or Zionists. There is a feeling of jealousy and hostility, even though Iranian government has done almost nothing to threaten their oil industry or their sovereignty in any shape and form. But these attacks, they continue. And well, then another group that kind of sponsors, usually they pay and they hire people who are troublemakers. They have done this in the past. They are the Mossad or Israeli government. They hire killers, and they have blown up many scientists either openly. They blow up their cars. They killed several of the nuclear scientists. Well, there was a conference, and the non-aligned nations and a lot of countries attended. Well, the Americans were, I think, were invited, but they didn't show up. But Miss Clinton was telling many countries, "Hey, don't go there. You know, they're nobody. We are like and this and that." And many countries just disregarded her. But in the entrance to the conference, the Iranian government had put all these vehicles with the top blown, like usually the Mossad or their secret program they have. They pay somebody and they come with the motorcycle and attach a bomb on top of the the car that was carrying the nuclear scientist, or he was driving it, and blow him away. And then almost always this motorcycle or the guy who did the actual execution, he gets caught, and then about a month or two later, there is his picture. He's usually out of work person, and then he showing that his last minute before he gets up on the gallows and he gets killed. It's like ongoing, and it stops for a little while and then it picks up again. But then before that, there were all the Bin Laden. Well, Bin Laden had a friend. His name was Zarqawi, and he also was acting agent for Bin Laden in Iraq. He killed many Shia, and there were so many bombings and so many. And then the Americans finally came around, and they bombed his warehouse. But then the suspicion comes here to the Yankees, and that they are the ultimate culprit of all these bombings and all these attacks. Well, when Trump came in, he was making all these statements. Oh, we're not going to engage in foreign wars. He's just like all the other American presidents that engage in warfare, and all the other American presidents that promised to end these wars. And he used the U.S. military, and I guess that constructed this bomb, the largest non-nuclear bomb, and they dropped it in a camp. I guess the people that worked in the camp, they were sympathetic, or they were ISIS collaborators, and the Americans didn't want them anymore, and they were trying to house clean, like destroy all the evidence that hey, we were deeply involved in our own terrorist programs, and they kind of wiped them out. But then this has been going on with Israelis, because Israelis were also supporting ISIS in Syria, and there were all these pockets or headquarters, and they were also doing cleanup. I very strongly suspect that there was some kind of communication between Israeli government and Syrian government, that hey, we are coming in, we are not like gonna bomb you, we want to bomb our own guys, like the ISIS that we set up in your country, or what we want to do a little house cleaning, and we don't want this stuff to get out. So it's like a information management to them, but then kind of shows what goes on in United States itself, because their military is also very fragmented, like a Pakistani military, and there's all this little stuff goes on with them that it never gets out. Well, I thought that the fact that McCain died so unexpectedly was kind of like a court martial, or if there was a court martial with the Bush senior, then there is a lot of rumors that the U.S. military is really two militaries. One is like Pentagon, and the other one is all the intelligence services, and then the rest of their military, depending on what they're aligned with. They and then they have all these groups that they use to assassinate foreigners and overthrow foreign governments. Well, the most recent episode is that they they transferred 50 ton of gold from Syria, and previous to that, they had been messing with Venezuela to see if they can get their gold, but all these interest in overthrowing foreign governments or getting their central bank gold, it shows that there is a financial collapse that's kind of being hushed up, because when they get all this gold, they steal all it from foreigners, then they continue with the suppression of precious metal markets. You know, there is gold, and there are some buyers that they just won't go away. They want the physical metal, so the central bank or the exchange stabilization board, you know, puts out all these derivatives to suppress the metal as much as they can, but then there is some buyers that they cannot get rid of. Then that's what they have to do, periodically go steal gold and give these buyers and get rid of them, and then continue with the precious metal suppression scheme. And then well, this scheme is really what keeps the value of dollar up. This is like a barometer of how much a dollar is worth in comparison to gold. But if you suppress the price of gold endlessly and get rid of the very persistent people that want the precious metal, then yeah, everything looks pretty rosy. But then the Americans they use a group, it's called Langley Group, to go and kill foreigners or significant foreign politicians. If that doesn't work, then the Saudis come in with suitcases full of cash to bribe foreign generals. Well, I'm not going to go into talking about what the Iranian government or many Middle Eastern government or Indian government should do, or they owe this legal and moral responsibility to their population to do that. But I think that what will end up, we're going to be gradually going to a war, either World War III, which is like a sudden outburst of war in many regions, or it's going to become more like a mafia war. Different governments hire groups to send into different countries to kill Mossad, or to kill Israelis or Israeli politicians, or to kill the American politicians or their intelligence services, or knock out the Al Saud. But what this stuff it keeps going on, it cannot go on anymore. Like the general was saying, that he was like stuck. Oh, what do I do with this? And there is so much public anger in India, in Iran, in Iraq. On top of all of this, the their America's foreign trade and the dollar, petrodollar is completely collapsing. All this stuff is happening all around them, but they are just oblivious to it. On top of all this, the U.S. has a very complacent population that they know this stuff is going on, but they don't seem to want to get out of their shell and even talk about it in the media or with their politicians. Well, the cyber war or the circumstantial technologies allow foreign governments to identify the Americans or the Israelis or the Saudis that are behind this. These people are themselves very vulnerable, but I guess if you have a brain made of lead, then yeah, it doesn't affect you. Well, I have not too many solutions, and but if there are solutions, they are all like extrajudicial killings, like the Americans were doing in Waziristan in Pakistan, or the Iranian government also engaged in some. They sending rockets into some houses in Syria that were populated by these terrorists. But this subject is just too disgusting, a subject of extrajudicial killings and hiring hitmen. It's just, I've gone as far as somebody would want to go, and the only thing that really is a form of solace is to, when you're confronted with groups or people that just override any kind of moral or legal or international law. Just as an individual, I would just ask God to deal with them. But many governments, they cannot do that. Anyhow, thank you for being in my YouTube channel, and there are some topics that I really don't like to go there, but you know, I'm in a little spotlight and people ask about it, or it's constantly in my face, so sometimes I have no choice but to talk about it. Thank you very much. Please subscribe. Don't be shy to leave your comment, and have a nice day.